So, you want to throw some sort of social encounter at your players. Why not a masquerade ball? If you've reached a point where you feel comfortable and confident in your ability to juggle multiple social interactions, bouncing back and forth between them at the right times, why not throw a masquerade ball? Simply put, you get the opportunity here to bring together many different characters that don't necessarily know that the others are there. I use this in a game to create some drama, introduce some new characters that may have a big role in the future, and add tension by putting different allies, at least to the party, in the same room who may not necessarily get along with each other, though these NPCs might not know it themselves just yet. Mechanically speaking, how does this all work? First, you have NPCs. They all have masquerade masks on. They don't know who is who until they talk to each other, or unless someone spills the beans. The players don't know who is who either, except for their own party, until someone speaks up or they get a good enough perception check. Of course, whoever's hosting the party is likely going to welcome everyone, in which case the players get a freebie right there. I'm inclined to start by asking all the players for perception checks when they enter the room. Now, if someone has a higher roll, I'm inclined to give them some clues about who some of the people are. More importantly, people that they might be closer to. For example, there was one character, Renford, who was important in one of the characters' backstories. Because of this, that player's high perception roll was able to identify that character immediately, while someone else's high roll would not necessarily give them that information because they don't know Renford. If someone has a lower roll, they might get some details about clothing or the demeanor of a table, but they don't know who is who just yet. Maybe they're just a little overwhelmed by the social interaction. From there, I ask for initiative, and you could easily base this off of a charisma stat instead of dexterity, because it's a social encounter. I do this because I want everyone to have their own turn, their own opportunity to choose who they want to talk to, what they want to do. If two people want to go to the same place and engage in the same interaction, great. But I'll still have them do things in order so everyone feels like they're contributing. And also to make sure that they have the option in case they want to veer off from what they do normally. Now we're gonna start creating this masquerade ball by identifying sources of tension and NPCs that might exist in the space. And you don't have to go to this depth. I just wanted to do this so it'll be easier for you to see what's going on. I found that depending on how prepared you are to improvise, you could very easily say that there are so many tables, and because everyone has masks on, reveal who they talk with as you go, maybe rolling on a table of random NPCs. However, as far as things that you want to have planned out, I'd like to think of these as bits of tension, relationships that could change how this evening goes. First off, I've already mentioned Renford being tied into one of the heroes, in which case, okay, there's someone we know. There's someone the party knows. And of course, I want to set it up so that we have someone that the party knows at every table, and it could be a fun surprise when they find out. Now, moment of tension. We have Renford here. As far as someone else the party will likely know, let's say Mayor K, and this is the person who's throwing the party. And I could imagine the mayor being very happy about the party being here, having invited them, and it could be even a matter of prestige to have the heroes who saved the town here at her party. Now, I'll say there is potential for Mayor K to be a source of tension if there's a need for secrecy. For example, let's say that there's someone here who the party knows is a bounty hunter or a hitman who's after a member of the party. In that case, they probably wouldn't want that person to know who they are. Mayor K might be the person who would reveal this. Now, I did put Renford here as a source of tension, and I will reconcile that immediately. Simply put, let's put this gentleman as the tension, maybe a duo of tension here with Renford. I'm going to call this person Vincent. In this case, I'm going to add on to Renford. Let's say that these two are romantic rivals for the same person, and Vincent has won out. Maybe Renford isn't very happy about that. to the point of potentially causing a scene. Now, at the start of the party, everyone in masks, everyone just kind of schmoozing about. Vincent and Renford don't know each other are here yet. And if the party finds out, then we might have some tension that these two could be on a collision path. And that's something you can play with. The idea of Renford slowly making his way through the party towards Vincent, or vice versa. Because if they do meet up, a fight will ensue. It might get into hardcore, like Hamilton dueling moment status. So that's a source of tension. In spite of the fact that Renford and Vincent are rivals that might escalate into violence if they meet each other, let's say that Vincent is an ally of the parties, in which case it's in their best interest maybe to keep them apart. Now, I've added 3 people who are friendly to the party. Now I'm going to add in one more person that the party knows, and the party really doesn't want to know her. Her name is Kathleen. Maybe Kathleen was somehow wrapped up in scandal for money, and the party was able to uncover this and prevent her from being able to con townsfolk out of money. Now, they prevented this, they kept it under wraps, but she's still a little salty about it. In which case, she definitely wishes that the party wasn't there to foil her plans to get more wealth. We have a little bit of a trap here. Kathleen could be someone that in the course of the party, in the course of the hero schmoozing, maybe developing relationships or getting an in with someone else, Kathleen could be someone who would sabotage this. Someone who would find ways to tear the party down instead. Now, we have people that the party knows already. Those are great sources of tension. I love social encounter. But we do need a way for the party to end without it just being everyone petering off, someone passing out, someone leaving with someone else, because that feels more like, oh, we're riding the energy and continuing on a downward slope. So a source of tension that you can introduce is a fight breaking out, an attack of some sort. And here you have a perfect opportunity to introduce another agent of tension. And I'll say this person is Candace, and she is in league with the attackers. With this person in play, you have an opportunity for your players to get some information and maybe find out about this attack ahead of time, interacting with Candace. Or she might be effective enough to be able to get information about the characters, the heroes, that she could convey to the attackers. There's a lot of possibilities here, and it's just up to you how you want this to play out. But knowing that an attack is imminent, having someone who's on the inside is a great source of tension. Now, we talked about an attack. Why are they attacking this place? Is it because of the mayor? Very powerful, very affluent, and would be a target for an assassination. But we can raise the stakes here. Who else would the party not want to die here? In this case, maybe one of the party members had a fling with, let's call this person Bruce. And I'm going to put Bruce on the map real quick. Now let's say that Bruce, being the romantic interest of one of the party members, that party member is going to be invested in his safety too. And this creates an opportunity where you can put him in danger to raise the tension. Or you can also put him in situations where the party member might lose points with him. Say if Kathleen is there, sees them interacting, and decides to swoop in and badmouth the party member. Or say information gets out about the assassination, about the assault, and the mayor reveals this connection to Candace, in which case Candace might do a preemptive assault on Bruce and like drug his drink or something, in which case we might lose that romantic interest, or we might set him up to be attacked. Either way, we have stakes here. Someone that the party specifically doesn't want to die in the attack. Now, depending on what the party's goals are, if they're tied to this city or not, you can create more tension by adding in players that they will have to get on the good side of. And I'm going to establish that right now. This person is going to be a major diplomatic relation. This person is William. The mayor would likely want to create a really good impression on William. Because of the investment in this town, the players would want to do so too, thus escalating their desire to make sure that nothing bad happens here, including the assault, assassination, and the conflict between Renford and Vincent. And I'm kind of drawing from this specific game. I'm going to change the name a little bit. Let's say that one of the characters happens to be the star in a production, and this character has been the star for a long time and wants to continue to be the star. However, someone's shown up recently, someone who's very good at what they do at this performance, and as such is a potential threat. I'm going to name this person Genevieve. So now we have someone who could help instigate. We have someone who maybe in the course of interacting would try to get a leg up. And there's a chance in the game that I ran, the person competing for this star role really badmouth that player's character to another player's character, in which case, of course, they'd feel a bit defensive about this. And so we'd have a little bit of butting of heads. And that is where you can get a lot of roleplay mileage. Now, I'm gonna shift things up a little bit. I'm gonna add in a secret bad guy. His name is Drew. This person is not the big bad, though you could totally do that if you want to. But this person is a bad guy. Maybe this person is actively investing in the efforts against the players, or maybe I'll use the example from the game. This character actually has a relative of one of the player characters in their possession as a servant. They don't necessarily realize the connection there. But this is a moment where you can drop some breadcrumbs because they've met this person, and this person might exhibit some behaviors and have some traces if the relative had a certain scent that they were partial to, or maybe they made a certain dish that it's like their forte, in which case this secret bad guy could very easily have had them cook that, and maybe the player character might smell just a hint of that. But if you do it subtly enough, then they might not be sure that it's coming from this guy or coming from the food here. This is a fun way to introduce someone that the players might have to deal with later. I also want to add in, I guess this really just depends. It depends on how much the odds are stacked against your players. I like to make sure that there's at least one or two other capable people in the party. I mean, not just in like the player's party, but in the party who, if the intentions of the party are clear as chaos begins to unfold, might be a valuable ally. And I'm going to name this person Harriet. Now, when it comes to a secret ally, in the case of the game, I had this person be an investigator. They're trying to track someone down. Now, you have the distinct opportunity to have an investigator who's looking for someone at the party and has heard word that they would be here, in which case there's another source of tension. Now, one of the great things is if you are using a secret ally, especially if they're the type who are more sleuthy, then this automatically makes them suspicious to the party because of the way that someone who is suspicious of others acts. The party might deem this person suspicious. You could give them little clues. This woman seems to be looking very closely at you. And when you go to look back at them, it feels like they're assessing you in some way. Without having the knowledge that this is an investigator, this could seem like an assassin to the party. And then it's just a matter of interactions, trying to see if they're able to navigate this properly so that this person could help at the sign of trouble. If not, then we might have another enemy on our hands. 2 more people. I feel like we've got enough tension. We can throw in some more people that the players have seen and care about because they've interacted with them, maybe not necessarily on the level of like a romantic interest. Let's throw in Steve, who is the owner of the general store. It's kind of fun to be able to see people that you've interacted with in the same sort of place. Finally, we can make another connection. We've already got Renford tied to one character's backstory, Bruce, a romantic interest of another character, Genevieve, who's the rival performer competing with another character, in which case, with a typical party of 4, let's find some way to tie this person
to the fourth character. We could always go the very soap opera-y route of a long-lost sibling or something. That could always be fun. Maybe a sibling that has tracked them down, trying to find them because they're worried about them. That's a possibility. Maybe it's someone who's tied to a bad guy, but not necessarily working in league with them. Friend of enemy, and her name is gonna be Cassie. Yeah, I like that. Because if we have a friend of the enemy, doesn't necessarily mean that she's an enemy too. But maybe, in this case, she has the same tattoo or other sigil of that enemy. And if that player, if that character sees that, that could trigger them to go off and attack this person, when for all we know, they could just be connected in some way without necessarily being directly involved in wrongdoing, right? With all of our sources of tension in play, you have your players. You send them off in their initiative order. One person decides, hey, I'm going to go to this table. Another person decides, hey, I'm going to go to that table. You want them all to decide where they want to go based on what they see. And most of the time, they'll ask you many questions that are indicative of what their character is after. Because I've given you this list of all the people and the sources of tension. The players don't necessarily know who everyone is. Depending on where they want to direct their attention to, you can give them clues about that character, about that character's interests, about that character's activities.
And then it's up to the players to see what they do, where they want to go, who they want to talk to. And we will get into that next time. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe so you won't miss part 2. And until next time, take care.